Hello, everybody, and welcome to Paranormal Nation Radio. Not so normal, your regular show here on Tuesday nights at 5 p.m. Central. So, how's everybody in our chat room doing? We'll check and see. They're in there. Yeah. Okay. Denise is on a business call right now, so she'll be coming in here in a second. But we had Chris last week on the last part of our show, the last few minutes. So, we invited him back this week to be on the show. So I'm gonna bring him up on the show right now. Hey, Chris,
Howdy,
how you
y'all.
doing, brother?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. So tell our listeners out there a little bit about yourself, the paranormal, and whatever else you want to tell them about.
Well, I'm going to answer my partner here because he's checking. He might pop in
Okay,
here in a few minutes.
go ahead.
Um, I started in the paranormal about, gosh, it's almost 30 years now. I don't count my childhood days, which is what got me into the paranormal in the first place. I've done a few shows talking about what happened there. Uh, I was attacked as a child from my home, and it resulted in many, many years of a house that had something pretty nasty in it. I had some pretty famous people come out and take a look at it at one point. Um, Whole story that, believe it or not, you've seen bits and pieces of on a lot of different things. But that brought me onto a paranormal path where I traveled across the world at one point or another while I was broke, when I wasn't broke, a whole bunch of times learning from college professors, universities, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life and get my personal questions answered. Somehow landed in the back end of media and entertainment world of television and was doing some wiring and some setups for some big major shows. Worked on a couple of EVP recordings for them, subcontract during my miscellaneous career, working with the government, doing sales and marketing and a lot of other things. Which I'm actually a motivational speaker and I've done sales and marketing for over 30 years as well. And eventually landed on television from there, I guess you could say. Been on a handful of shows throughout the years. Some people recognize me, some people don't. I really don't advertise it. I don't even know when the show's air, to be honest with you. And I'll be going back on TV next year. But excuse my term when I say this, been a hell of a ride so far.
Hey, that's all right. That's all right. Yeah, I mean it's amazing how all of us look back through the years about how we started in the paranormal and what we remember in childhood, growing up, and seeing things that could not be explained. You know, every person that's in the paranormal always has to look back
Well, the
and
funny thing is, everybody has a story too. It's not just
yeah,
the people that are in the paranormal. Everybody has a story that they love to share. In fact, that's a part of what my life has been. What me and my partner, Joe Myers, have concentrated on throughout the years. We pissed off a few people with that, but the paranormal is so much more than just what people think you see on TV, hunting ghosts with all the gadgets and all the nonsense. It's about the stories. It's about the science. It's about a lot of things people don't even get into that the community doesn't realize about because they're used to seeing what they see on TV. And don't get me wrong, that's great, guys. Watch me on TV, watch everybody else on TV. There's some great personalities on TV. I'll never discourage that. Some of them are very good friends of mine. Some of them don't really like me too much, but I still promote them. They still promote me. Um, but reality and TV are two different things, and you really kind of have to understand that when
right.
it comes to everything, because there's a
I
lot of things that is totally different than what you
oh
think.
right. I mean, we all do something and try to find evidence and investigate it as far as we can, you know. And then you show it to somebody, oh, that ain't real. That ain't what they do on TV. People, the stuff you see on TV, 99.9% of it is set up because they got to get the ratings.
And I can assure you that because I've helped do it. But
Yeah.
that's a whole other story. Up until last year, I actually had a 10-year agreement. I couldn't talk about any of that. I can now. I'm thinking about writing a book about that because I've been behind the scenes of a lot of things that many, many people know I've been behind the scenes on. But I mean, I also don't want to ruffle any feathers to a certain point.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but the thing that I tell people in paranormal is, guys, it's a lot different than what you think. It's not just going around investigating houses and all this other stuff. In fact, the paranormal itself means unknown. And being a more logical and skeptical person myself, and science, that's where everything begins and everything ends, is the unknown. So a lot of people, your first argument with most people is the science and the paranormal don't mix. Well, excuse my term when I say this, and I hope I don't get in trouble for it, but horseshit. The science is the paranormal. Everything began as unknown.
Right.
You didn't travel to space because you knew how to do it. You didn't create the atom bomb because you knew how to do it. It was an accident, for Christ's sakes. You didn't discover radio waves because, hey, I just know what they are. You stumbled across them. It's all paranormal, guys. It's all paranormal. The unknown. And when it becomes known, it becomes explained. Now, this is why people get so pissed off. Well, you can't explain everything. You're right. That's what science is about. Science, the exact basis of science is I cannot explain everything, therefore I'm going to try my damnedest to do it. And then in that process, guess what? It's all questions. So you stumble across it in most cases. When you can't answer those questions, that's when the other academics come in. Theology is an example. All theology is a form of science and academics. Mm-hmm. You come up with educated guesses based off of the theories that you put in place, and you create theology revolving around them. Some theologies have been here for thousands of years. This is why we believe in God in the first place. I'm a very big believer in God. But I'm also a very big believer that every theological religion has bits and pieces of what God means. Right. Because I've studied them all, as an example. So you have to have all these academics in place. You have to have all this science in place. You have to have all these careers in place. And you have to work together in each individual one. In the old days, that's what we did. In the old days, you didn't have a paranormal team, so to speak. You had a bunch of educated people, generally contacted by church or other people, to come and investigate a situation and try to find a logical solution. Now, 99% of the time you would find a logical solution. 1% of the time you would have things start floating and throwing at your head. And you'd go, I have no idea why that happened, but I want to find out.
Right.
And that's the basis of how the paranormal, the way you see it today, was developed. And then media and television and movies and so forth took hold based off of theories and aspects, and they only gave you about 2% of that reality. Nowadays, everybody believes in the 2%, and they don't want to hear the rest.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Everything's paranormal. Nothing could be. It can't possibly be a squirrel scratching in your walls. Can't be a beehive in your walls. It's got to be a demon. And
it can't revolve around quantum physics. It can't revolve around quantum mathematics. It can't revolve around mass hysteria. It can't revolve around any psychological views. It's always got to go back to you're wrong. I'm sorry. It's a ghost or it's a demon.
Okay, we got your buddy down here in the green room. He's waving at us.
He's finally done. He's done eating. So
yeah, he's done eating. I love that sandwich. I was getting hungry watching him. Anything, but we'll bring him up here on the screen.
Hey. Joel sitting there listening to me gripe. This is my partner in crime, Joel Myers. He's been with me for God, what, about 5 or 6 years now, Joel?
Yeah, about 5 years now.
Joel is a wonderful man, by the way, guys. If you don't know who Joel Myers is, when he first teamed up with me, he was curious about ghosts, and then he's a very technological whiz. He's got some real science behind him. So he created the very first night vision action camera for ghost hunting. Now, it's not something that anybody couldn't have done at the time. It's just Joel took it one step further.
Excuse me.
What's going on in the background?
Does somebody have a Facebook or anything like that?
Open.
Here's somebody yelling.
Or do we have a ghost box in the background going?
No, I don't have anything in the background going to my place.
Let's see. Did that clear it up?
Nope, it's you.
It's you.
It's you, Chris.
Something's coming in on your end.
Let's see there. Did that take care of it?
Talk some more.
Nope.
Let's see here.
Could be your mic.
Might be. I'm not sure why.
It almost sounds like a ghost box in the background.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
I think it doubled over on me is what happened. Give me 1 second here. We should be able to clear that up.
Hey, Carl, where's Luke been?
Oh, he's been working. I talked to him last night.
All right.
Yeah, I seen that. I was telling him about it.
Joe. Oh, okay. You sent a picture.
So your name's Joe Myers?
Joel. Yeah. Joel
Joel?
Myers.
Go.
Yeah.
M-Y?
Meyers.
My maiden name is Myers, M-Y.
Okay. All right. So we're jerking together.
There we go. That should have cleared it up for you.
Yeah, that's better.
That did. That's much clearer.
Yeah, it accidentally shut off the shut this off and then opened it back up. So I had two mics running at the same time.
That's what it was. It's backfeeding each other.
Right.
Yeah. So Joel created what was called the Nicam. He started it in his basement, just tinkering around with action cameras to try to find the best camera for ghost hunting. And he's kind of taken it from there. And we've been working periodically together on trying to figure out how to promote this and coming up with the best cameras for.
We still got it, Chris.
Uh-oh. Why is that doing that?
So it basically what I did was I've taken the night vision concept. Night vision's been around for a long time, but I figured that if we're going to do the same things during an investigation over and over and over again, same evidence, you get the same results. We got to think outside the box a little bit.
Right.
So I've kind of narrowed it down to I'm a little bit sciencey, so I wanted to kind of find a spectrum that we can narrow down and see if we can't see them inside a certain spectrum, nanometer. So I'll do a bandpass filter I've created. I see a certain part to my camera where I can put filters in on a bandpass filter system. So we can narrow down and get rid of all different spectrums all at once and narrow it down to certain nanometers. So we'll start at like the 300 nanometer spectrum, and that gets rid of everything else outside that spectrum. We've got human spectrum, of course, we see every day. But if we kind of narrow that down, we get a full spectrum. Full spectrum is just a wide open spectrum. We've been using that for years. Mm-hmm. So why not narrow that down to a certain spectrum? If we get more evidence above and below a certain human spectrum, why not focus more on that certain spectrum? So I'll focus on like a 300 to 400 different area, spectrum, to where if we have less evidence in that certain area, like the UV spectrum, X-ray spectrum, above the red spectrum, the 850, the 920, clear up to 1,000 nanometers, why not focus on that spectrum? We get more evidence.
Let's see, that's the thing I was telling you guys about with science. Hopefully, did that clear it up a little bit?
Yeah, you're good.
For now.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, it was trying to pick up. I've got like 12 mics in here, but that's a whole other story, getting set for what we're about to do later with another podcast. So hopefully it doesn't kick back in. If it does, I'll just shut them all off but one. But that's the science we were talking about. A lot of times people forget the science, and that's what it's all about. Spectrums of light, spectrums of audio, testing the boundaries, kind of seeing what causes this to happen.
Well, we think we're going to have you turn off all those mics.
It's doing it again.
Still doing it.
Is it?
Yeah.
It comes and goes, but it seems to be coming back.
Well, let's just do this.
Yeah, he'll talk for about a minute and then it goes.
Sounds like you're on a spirit box in the background.
Can you hear it, Joe?
It sounds okay to me. As he's talking, it does kind of lose a little bit of that, I don't know, like a dB level. It goes down and in and out. So I don't know if it's something that's back feeding another or what, but it does.
I mean, it sounds like an SB7 in the background.
It's got to be paranormal.
It has to be.
This can't be.
Okay, you can hear me, but I can't hear you. Give me 1 second.
It's kind of like
fine.
Denise and Ron's lights in their camera. Every once in a while, they'll go light, they'll go dark. They'll go light, they'll go dark.
And it's just my skin is so white, it just messes with the.
There we go.
With the lights. But again, you know what? It makes for a fun story to tell people, hey, it's paranormal.
Right.
You'd have about 80% of them believe in it.
And I can't do that. I can't tell people that. It's because maybe 2% of the stuff that happens might be paranormal.
Absolutely. And that goes into a lot of science that I go and involve myself with these cameras. We capture a lot of these orbs on camera, but 98.99% of the time, it's the dust you've kicked up or a bug. Mm-hmm. So I've created like a reverse negative IR camera that.
Give me 1 more second here, guys, while you're talking to Joel, and I'll get this thing operational.
You're good. So what I did was I narrowed that down to a heightened night vision spectrum in reverse negative. and I caught some orbs on camera, and I wanted to see what that did with it. But what I did was in a negative feature, the reverse negative IR feature that I come up with, it heightens all night vision colors in the 850 nanometer spectrum. I can take an orb and I can freeze it, and I could see the wings of the bug inside that orb, and we can eliminate all orbs to be non-paranormal. You take a dust particle, I can see the crystals inside of that orb and let you know that it is absolutely, without a doubt, dust particles and the dirt in the air that you go through the, a carpeted area. I can eliminate a lot of these orb stories we're hearing about just on this reverse negative IR that I've created.
I think it's funny that, people will go into a bathroom and they'll go, there's all kinds of orbs in here. It's toilet paper dust. And I'm like, because I go to take a bath and I see all this dust, flying around.
Yeah.
I don't see it on the floor. I don't see it anywhere else.
What about the one you saw following me?
That's different. I don't know what that was.
There are anomalies.
Yeah.
There's actually stuff out there that is paranormal, but we need to divide that crossover between what's real and what's not.
Right. Because I saw.
Yeah, she actually saw it. She says about size. Yeah.
Size of a soccer ball.
Yeah.
Following them down
following
the hallway.
me and this other guy down the hallway.
And with my own eyes.
With her own eye, yeah.
And I just happened to catch it on video as I'm seeing it. So, because I'm using his phone for a flashlight, and I'm holding it up here, and I see it, and I'm just walking, and I see it, and I pull down the phone because I didn't know how to use his phone at the time. Okay, so don't judge me. I didn't know how to use his new cell phone at the time. I couldn't find a flashlight, so I just decided I'd use video with a light, so I can this. And later on, I pull it down, and I go, I caught that on here. What in the heck is that? And I don't know what it was.
I would absolutely love to catch a real orb, a real paranormal phenomena on my camera so I can analyze it. I have yet to catch something that I can't explain on my camera. And a lot of times I'll push out a camera to a different larger group in hopes that I get something in return I can do research from. But all of my cameras, I have probably about 10 or 12 of those reverse negative. It's a new concept. But I have yet to catch something real and tangible that I can say is a real orb that I can analyze. So I'd love to get more cameras out there and catch a real orb so I can do more, you know what I mean? Your group's right there. I can push you out a camera, and if you catching something, if you're getting something real that we can't all explain, I'd love to analyze.
Yeah, we're going to Ashmore Estates next month.
Awesome.
That's one of the places where they say they get a lot of orbs.
Yeah, we've actually talked to other groups, and they've gotten pictures, and when they focus in on the picture, they said they can see faces in it.
And I think
that's what I want to analyze. I want to see what's inside that orb.
I'd like to see it closer.
Yep.
We've seen one at
the Sally House.
Well, at
McPike.
At McPike, there was a big bright. It was about the size of a beach ball. It was big,
right.
It was.
We've seen them in different sizes, different colors.
It wasn't. It was cloudy. In fact, we thought it was going to rain.
See, a lot of what I get
off of glass.
There was no glass.
There was no glass. Yeah, that's right. There was no glass on that at the time.
No, Joe Sertrone. Do you know?
A lot of what I've captured though is nothing to size. If you guys are getting soccer ball size orbs,
that's what throws us off is the size of these things. They're not little; these are big.
You may have little ones like this, and then you may have ones like this.
Yeah,
it depends on how. I guess what I would say is farther away they're smaller, up larger they're bigger. In certain cases.
Yeah, right. We don't have any idea really how far away they are from us when we take a picture.
Yeah.
Well, it's like out at our cemetery. We've got a cemetery out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Very little traffic. Now, I can understand. There's a gravel road there. I can understand the dust, and everything like that. But we've been out there after it has rained. Right after it's rained, got out and took pictures. And still, in our camera, we catch orbs.
How are we doing? You guys hear me at all?
Still the same way, Chris.
I'm not sure what's going on here, guys. There's no real.
The It's the
It's
government.
the government.
Maybe,
Knowing me, it could be.
I don't know. Maybe jump off and get back on again. I don't know.
Yeah. Just
Do you
get
have
out and come back.
Try
Do you
that.
have an onboard mic?
Not currently set. I might have one on the webcam. I'll pop off here while you guys are talking and see if we can't jump back on.
So,
Okay.
So one of the things, Joel, when we were filming this film, now it's doing it for me. Let me see what I can do.
What is going on here?
Don't know.
Now
I'm
it's
leaving.
doing
I'm
that.
leaving. I'll come back.
Okay,
Last one.
but you know, we know the colors. Is it still doing it?
No, we're good.
No,
You hear
it's,
me?
I can hear it on my end.
Huh. Is
And
it
all I
me?
have hooked up is this microphone and this headset.
Did that only happen when I popped in?
Let me see. I'm going to take you out for a second and I'll bring you right back in.
Okay.
Now, let's see. Okay. I don't hear the noise. Okay.
Do you hear the noise?
It's on your end. There's something.
Well, let me see what I can do.
Yeah, everybody says mine's fine. As soon as we popped you back in, it started doing it.
Okay. Let me see something here.
That is weird. I mean, it sounds exactly like a PBS or a
SB11.
Yeah. That's what it sounds like. What I'm hearing.
Okay.
We'll bring Chris up and see.
Yeah, when they start popping up, eliminate me and see if that sound goes away. If and I will narrow it down to me.
Okay.
Righty ho.
All right, how are we doing?
Are we all good?
I don't know. Are we?
Yeah. It's
Can
on
you hear me?
Joel. It's on Joel's end.
I was
You
going to say
guys
I'm not quite
popped
sure.
out. You guys popped out and his kept going.
Really?
Thank God, because I'm like, I only have
Yeah,
one
but
mic.
he's on his cell phone.
Oh.
Maybe it's a feedback from the adverb from the cell phone.
I don't know. We're going to bring him back up and see if it does it. Okay.
I'm afraid.
Da, 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 da.
We good?
I guess so.
We're good.
I don't hear you right. I don't hear any echo now.
Okay.
Shame on you, Mr. Myers.
Hey, I should have had my shit together.
That was.
That was a test and a half, wasn't it?
Well, you
We
know,
had to
my,
go through. Everybody had to pop out. I went on single. Everybody in the Facebook over here in the comments says, my sound's fine.
huh,
And I started bringing people on. And
you know, all I did was just changed rooms.
I wonder what that was.
Maybe you were verbing off of something.
I don't know. I was in my office. Now I'm up in a bedroom, just a upstairs bedroom.
Some
That
dang
is-
don't dig don't freaking with the aliens and stuff, man. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I got to call Lori and see if my visitor's still here, huh?
Oh, Lori's a handful. You know what? She's
Are you
been on
talking
key
about
with
Lori?
me every time, though.
Are you talking about Lori Johnson?
Yeah.
She has been on key with me on every key notion that has happened in the past year. I told her at the beginning of this when she told me, look, Chris, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. Don't sweat about this. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. And I told her at the beginning, I'm like, Lori, you know, I think this is all bullshit, right? Excuse the term. I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys get in trouble for that or not. And she said, watch, you're going to find out and you're going to call me.
You want to
And
know what?
Everything happened.
What happened? What all? What all she say was going to happen?
I got hit with some situations with my business where I went down. I had a car that went down. I had a bunch of things going on, and Joel can tell you it stressed me out pretty bad. The first thing she said is, don't worry about it. You're going to get a bright red car. It's going to be a Chevy Cobalt. I said, okay, whatever. 6 months later, Chevy Cobalt, bright red. She even told me the cost of the car. And then she said, don't worry about it. I'll tell you what's going to happen, honey. You're going to get hit up by the United States government. 7 months later, you're going to win the case, and you're going to keep the money. Sure as get out, every bit of that happened. And now she's told me, guess what? And at the end of that, she said, guess what? You're going to find yourself a Victorian house. It's going to start at what you can't afford. They're going to drop it $20,000, and they're going to drop it another $10,000 while you're waiting. So far, that's happened too.
Damn.
No.
Lori called me. I had asked her to be on my show. This was before she met me, okay? Come to find out, okay, you know where I'm from. you know, because Frank's told you, I probably told you, Lori is from the same area.
Oh, really?
So she proceeded to tell me that I was sitting on the steps in a towel, which I was. I had just gotten out of the bathtub and had a towel wrapped around me and walked into the kitchen. Okay, I'm in Kansas. She can't see me here. But she proceeded to tell me that, and then she told me some things that about my family. We really weren't friends on.
It's bad.
Irritating me. We really weren't friends on Facebook at that time, so she couldn't have found out anything about me from the time I asked her to be on my show to the time she
Well, she
called
wouldn't
me.
have known you were sitting on the steps in a
and
towel.
I mean, it was only 5 minutes from the time I asked her to the time she called me.
The first time we met her, I'm a big skeptic of mediums, by the way. Me and 4 other people actually put up a $1,000 a piece prize at one point, $4,000 for a medium to prove that they can get over the 70 percentile test, and nobody ever jumped into it. But when she first met with Joel, me, and a group of other people, she not only targeted somebody she shouldn't have known, she astro projected theoretically, and she was accurate, all the way up my steps into my bedroom and specifically laid out everything, including my mess of clothes, and said, honey, you really need to pick up those clothes and wash that.
Well, one of the things that she told me was, I thought it was strange. Okay.
Toy chest.
My dad was murdered in a row home. Okay. Most row homes are set up exactly the same. But she didn't know that. She didn't know my dad had been murdered. And she proceeded to tell me about how the kitchen was set up, the room where his murder happened.
So we're actually planning on putting her on to our podcast show that's coming up here soon. So Lori's going to be a regular guest on and off there. And a couple other people that you may know are going to pop in. I actually want to get together with Joel, and we're going to put together a lab for him to play around with too. I think I told everybody that, but I'm doing a show called Total Bullshit. And of course, we're going to be marking out the SHIT so that we can pop it in there. And it's going to be educational, humorous, a lot of fun things you guys are not used to seeing. So by all means, when you're watching the paranormal, do not get offended, because this is not meant to offend. It's meant to educate and have fun with, because there's a lot of people out there, like everybody on here, that have always wanted to say something or show something that they know is there, but they bite their tongue, or they slam their head up against the wall when nobody's looking. Well, if any of you ever know me, I'm the guy that doesn't do that. I'm the guy that's very blunt. So what better way to do that than to bring out Total Bullshit, call Total Bullshit, educate people, have a little bit of fun, and let all of you out there that have ever bit your tongue enjoy yourselves a little bit, because the paranormal mainstream is stressful, guys. I'm not going to lie about it.
Right.
I've only been in mainstream for 5 years of my life when I've been doing the paranormal for 30. And there have been times where I've wanted to walk away, been depressed, totally stunned, contemplated suicide at one point. I'm not going to lie about it.
We were eaten alive. I mean, just got eaten alive.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The paranormal is not something where you should feel that if you're helping someone, you're going to be stressed. If you're surviving it, you're going to be stressed. But if you're just on a paranormal team and out there, no, there shouldn't be drama. There shouldn't be all this crap that goes along with it.
Well, that's the problem. Mainstream is different than the paranormal. And I was used to the paranormal community. I spent time in universities. I worked with different team members. I consulted. I had a bunch of people educate me. I introduced them to all the people when we were thinking about doing our own little show. A bunch of normal people and then a bunch of people that were above normal people. And they were all great people. I learned a lot from them. And I still encourage that. You never can know everything in the first place. You're always going to find somebody smarter than you in something, so learn that. But when you hit the mainstream, it's a bunch of ego-driven people that think what they've seen on TV is it, and you don't know anything, and God help you if you have a degree. God help you if you're the Johns or the Bobs or the Mikes or the Rons or the Jims that went to school and actually got educations. You can't know anything at all. No, you're an idiot.
Right.
And they ripped people like us apart. all we wanted to do was tell the story. We still are that way. All I want to do is tell people stories.
Right.
That's what's amazing about the paranormal. The education, the stories, what people are really doing, what the real science is, what the real truths are, how people feel about it. You know, we go everywhere. In the past 5 years, we've been all across, God, what, 10, 15 states, maybe?
Well, we've been all over the place.
And 15 might be an exaggeration. Maybe it's 5 or 6, but Lord knows we've been everywhere. And we have not went one place where we have not heard a story from a gas station attendant, a restaurant attendee, somebody walking up to us on the street. And we've recorded them all. We've never put them out there, but we've recorded them all. Sat around and asked them questions.
That's the most interesting right there is when you pick up somebody that, we go to like Waverly Hills or some commercialized place like that. It's more interesting to hear stories beyond the location we're going to, like you said, our restaurants and our gas stations, than any other place we've been to. They have so many other stories that, those are the stories I'm chasing, is the ones that are outside of those commercialized buildings.
Yeah,
Right.
the real life.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, those are the ones that interest me the most.
Yep.
Are the ones where nobody knows why.
Yep.
They're going, we want to know why. And then, you talk to them, you visit with them, you get to know them a little bit. Then you research it and figure out, why is this place haunted? You just don't go, just because somebody says it's haunted, first of all, it doesn't make it haunted.
Right.
You need to prove, it needs to be proven somehow, some way.
Well, and even if it isn't, the thing is, when you get these stories, you realize that let's go beyond the term paranormal and unknown and the science involved. Let's go back into sociology and culture. This dates back so many years that even if it's not real, everybody has a story, and everybody wants to tell their story. They're just afraid to tell it until they run across somebody like us. And they say, hey, what are you doing? Hey, we're a paranormal investigator. We're going to a location. Oh, really? Let me tell you a story.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say, hey, do you mind if I record that? 99% of the time they say, no, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was told not to tell people that I had paranormal experiences back in the 70s.
Oh, yeah, back then.
Oh, yeah.
80s. Hell, he didn't know.
Back then it was taboo, and if you said anything like that, they're like, oh, that's a whack job.
We bought our first house in 86. And I told him, I said, there's a boy in our house. And, and when I first heard it, I figured it was the neighbors coming in or playing in our pool or whatever, because they had done that multiple times when the other people were there. And I didn't care. But, when I was pregnant, here's this kid, 15, 16-year-old kid walking around my house going, Mom. And I'm going, what? And he disappeared. So after
the 70s and 80s were kind of a weird time anyway.
Right. So 11 years later, though, we were buying a car. Okay. And I write the address down in the paperwork, and the guy goes, I know your house. It's the suicide house. And I'm like, Kansas City's huge.
We're like,
think about this. Kansas
how do you
City's
know
huge.
that address? He goes, his brother lives 2 doors down from us.
And he said,
oh.
And he said that this woman named Sharon lived in our house, and it was her son. Well, we knew Sharon.
Yeah, we knew Sharon.
And her best friend was my next door neighbor, and they never said a word to us.
She was over there all the time.
And so
never said a word.
Needless to say, we didn't know this. The neighbors across the street, their son committed suicide. He didn't tell us that we had one in our house too. A kid that bought one of our cars, he lived in the same neighborhood. His brother committed suicide. Didn't tell, and he knew people who lived in the house. And the guy who lived 2 doors down, he committed suicide too later on. But there was something in that neighborhood, I'm sorry to say. But it's just strange that he tells me this. And I looked at him, and he was like, damn. And our kids had seen this boy too, okay? So to finish the story, the next time I saw the boy after we bought the car, that I knew, now that I knew that this had happened, I told him to go to the people who love him, because they weren't here anymore. And he went away. Funny thing is we had pellet holes in our wall, in our downstairs dining room. and I had filled them in over the years. Every time I came, and they would just sink back in. Sink. And it did it years and years. After that, I filled them in, painted, never had to fill them in again.
Yep.
Once he left. So he was there were
Well, she described the kid to Bill, our neighbor that was real good friends with Karen. She described him. Bill said he turned white when he's, she started telling him what he looked like. We'd never seen him.
Now, see, imagine that only from the perspective that we're at right now when you're at a location. Imagine not worrying about putting all the dramatization in there and so forth, but just two people walking around and saying, hey, this is what we do, and getting the stories like you just said.
Yep.
Right.
That's what Joel and I are about. Other than the cameras, because the cameras are awesome, the science, the research, and being able to do something where you can break it down, and hopefully watching my buddy here blow a couple of things up, because I think that would be really cool. It's about those stories. Everybody has one. Everybody wants to share one. We are coming off of a 25-year run where early on, like you said, it was a taboo situation. Even when I was growing up, my mom and dad didn't want to admit what was in my house. They would avoid it.
Yeah.
It drove my mom crazy. But now, thanks to TV, the one thing that TV did do is make it a non-taboo situation where people can talk about this stuff. Now you can talk about your stories. And whether they're real or not doesn't really matter. It's the stories involved and the culture involved and the fact that we do believe they're real. Because that's 90% of the battle right there.
Right.
The bad part is getting it between what's real and what's not real. And that's one of the things that you have a hard time with as, first of all, as a parent or as an investigator, explaining how to tell the difference between what's real and what might not be real.
Well, that's because mainstream has crossed those lines and made everybody think that everything is real, because society and culture has our own little belief system. We want to believe these things are real. We don't want to believe people just die and go away. We don't want to believe that we're it and that's it. We want to believe in higher powers. We want to believe in all this. And there's nothing wrong with that. I do myself. But culture and mainstream have combined so much together that you can't just sit in front of somebody anymore and go, now, I believe that you saw this, but what if I were to tell you it's this? And what if I can back it up?
It's true, because the human mind is very complex. Our minds, we're very suggestive. We can suggest different stories, different locations, and the pareidolia effect. And you get to a location you already know the story on.
Right.
It goes hand in hand with, I'll give you a story like I'm a deer hunter. Every year I get seasoned for going out there and getting a big buck, and I get prepped up with my bow, and you're out there and your mind's starting to be very suggestive on what you're seeing. I'm very attentive. I look at the woods as all the way 360 view all the way around, and after a while I'll start to see a buck that's not there. It's very
Every tree branch is an antler.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Every
I've
bush
actually
is
put
a
that
body.
to the test several times. In fact, Joel has a video that we never released when we first started this where I put that to the test. We were at a location with a young investigation team that thought that they were king everything. And they really were attractive people. I'm not going to lie, even though we parted ways with them. I told my camera guy at the time, because Joel couldn't be there, I said, I'm going to put this to the test. We have a particular piece of equipment here. And the equipment is designed to map and supposedly find ghosts. Now, everybody knows what this is when I mention that, so I won't mention the machine.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant the idealism that there's a ghost in the room. If it maps something, and I'm betting it's going to map that fly. And he said, seriously? I'm like, yeah. And when I do that, I'm going to move it further, and we're going to see what these people do. So it mapped the fly, just like I said. And I said, hey, there's something standing right beside you. So he puts his hand out and he moves the couch just a slight bit. And guess what? It maps that area. And he says, I feel something touching me. And his buddy walks behind and goes, oh, my God, it's right there. It's right there. It's touching you. And they build this whole concept because you already know there's supposed to be a ghost in that room, that a ghost was sitting there with him. And everybody in the room believed it. All the time, it was mapping a couch and a fly.
It's
That's
very
all it was doing.
suggestive. You could really implant that story within somebody. And we've talked about it, Chris, before, to do like some scientific experiments about making up stories at locations and seeing what kind of evidence we get at the end. You know, if you suggest there's a Sarah there, how many Sarahs are going to pop up at the end of the investigation? You know, hey, Sarah come across the ghost box, or, you know, there was a girl murdered here. Suggest that, hey, there's a girl murdered here in 1923. You know, how many 1923s are going to come through? How many Sarah, you know, we're very suggestive when it comes to investigating. We want to know what's true and what's not. I'm just not sure, because the human mind is so complex that we could be making up a good bit of this paranormal activity that's happening.
Well, that's like the story of the Sally house. Sorry to say, there was never a Sally.
Right.
You know, and so you go through all this, and you tell people the house has been cleared. They go in there, and they're still calling out to Sally.
Nope.
You want to know?
They're getting whatever has been conjured up in there since, or what they believe they think they're getting.
You want to know a funny thing about the Sally house that nobody will ever know, but I actually do know, is some of that story did not even come from that house.
Do you know that some of that story was made up by a previous mayor?
I do. And a quarter of that story didn't even come from the same state.
So I know everything there is to know about the Sally house.
I noticed that somebody named Sally Bright had mentioned deja vu. So I'm going to jump in a little bit on what deja vu is, in my opinion. And this is going to get a little bit in depth, but I want you to think a little bit about it. Quantum physics states that we live in multiple realities at the exact same time, and each branch off of that reality depends on what you do within that reality. For instance, if I pick up this drink and I drink it, in the next reality, what would happen if I didn't drink it? That would branch off into another reality. However, we experience every one of these realities. So when a wave interacts with another wave, you have a moment of what you call deja vu. Now, I want you to think really deeply on that, because that works with everything when you're talking about ghosts, spirits, echo walks, all of this other stuff, including residual energy. The mind is energy, just like all of these quantum waves and all these quantum situations. Therefore, it is very easy for your mind to register and see the future and the past at the same time in little situations like deja vu. So the next time you say, did I actually do that event, or I just did that event, odds are you probably did. Does that make sense?
Have you ever had deja vu?
I have, yeah.
Okay.
I've had deja vu to the point to where I was actually doing flea markets very early on in life.
Right.
And I was with somebody at a flea market that her dad did the flea market itself, and I was helping him. And one of my good friends named Milton at the time was with me. And I looked at her, and her mouth dropped at the time along with her dad, because I looked at her and said, you're about to give me $2.25 in quarters because I need change. Don't worry about it, because I found the quarters in my left pocket. I just don't know they're there yet.
Right.
And she stopped, and her mouth just dropped, because it just popped into my head. I'm about to ask her that I need change. I don't need change. It's in my left pocket. And I've done this before. My dad has done it. My dad at one point was walking out the door when I was a kid. He looked back at me and my sister while my best friend was there at the time, Julie, and said, hey, that's Glenn on the phone. Tell him I already have the stereo in the car. Tell him he didn't need to ask that question in the first place. I'm on my way, and thank you for opening those doors already. We're going, what? The phone hasn't rang. He closes the door. The phone rings. His partner, Glenn, is on the phone going, hey, where's Pete? Does he have my stereo?
Yeah.
So it's possible to have it.
I used to have it quite a bit. I haven't had it that much lately, but unlike you, when those situations happen, it would kind of hit me, and then I'd sit there and go, I knew what they were going to say the next. I didn't come out and say what they were going to say, but I knew before they even said it.
I had a psychologist tell me once
for about 10, 15 seconds, that I could really remember, or I would know what was going on. But after that, I didn't.
Well, and that's most common. I had a psychologist tell me one time, my biggest event on deja vu, my psychologist told me, well, you may have created the event, but I didn't. For 11 years of my life, I saw what I thought was going to be my death. I saw a car accident in a blue interior with somebody sitting behind me, the trees and bushes bouncing around, the car turning upside down, and then it ended right there. And I thought, this is how I'm going to die. I told everybody that I was confronted with. Then I had the car accident 16 years later. It was the exact same thing that I saw. What was behind me at the time was my dog, who saved my life. The car turned over. I saw everything that I saw. I got stuck in a ditch. Same interior that I saw. Same situation. I remember seeing my leg dangling in front of my face, which is how I knew I was in trouble. So I cut the seatbelt. I crawled halfway out. I said, well, my dog must be dead, because I was taking her to a dog visit at the time. She wasn't. I told her to go get help. Whole other story. That's right. Dogs are smart. But I'll never forget that, because I saw that same incident over and over and over again every night I went to sleep for 16 years.
Wow.
I used to have a dream like that all the time too. Not that dire, but it was always a dream about how I could change how my father died. That he didn't die. You know, how could I stop all this? And I did that for years and years. And finally, I just said, I can't keep doing this. Because, I mean, I was 10 when he died. And I started doing it pretty much the next night after I found out he died. So.
And mine's not as major as that, but all my life I'm really into music. I'm very musically inclined. I play piano and I sing. But all of my life, I don't know if you guys have ever done this or not, but have you ever predicted a song on the radio?
Oh, yeah.
Constantly. What is that?
Def Leppard every third song.
There you go.
When I'm in the car.
Right.
I don't know what it is, but I can be singing a song and just, a song will pop in my head. And instantly the next song is that song I'm singing. I don't know what that is.
Man, that is weird, because I used to play in a band in high school and then after. And I started writing our own songs. We did, cover stuff, but I started writing our own songs. Well, I played drums. We had two guitarists. So if there are guitar riffs that I wanted them to do, I had to go like, It sounds kind of stupid, but I would keep doing that and they would start playing it. And it's like, no, that's not how I want it. And it was hard to explain because I can't play guitar at all. Well, after they get it all figured out. Well, there was one song I wrote, the guitar, drum, everything. The words are different, but Black Sabbath's the last album they just released, there is a song exactly the way I wrote it.
Wow.
The lyrics are different, obviously, but the guitar, drums, it's to a T.
No.
I did this over 30 years ago. When I first heard it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's my song.
Yeah. I always thought it was a music thing. It's just, I don't know if it's the music thing or just, it's that part of the mind that we have not tapped, there's so much brain.
That's the thing. If you think about this, and I've told people this multiple times, I still stand by it. A lot of people, again, jump back and say science can't explain it. But science can explain it. We just don't listen. Let's go back into quantum physics. Quantum physics is all based off of mathematics, which is based off of energy. Everything is based off of energy, which is protons, neutrons, and everything else moving around in sequence with each other on a regular basis, correct?
Mm-hmm.
The brain and mind is the same way. Now, when you connect all of this together, that means that now everybody's going to freak out when I say this. That means that technically all of you are right and everybody's wrong all at the same time. The reason behind that is if you theoretically start looking into this, the energy can't be destroyed, right? So what does it do? It transforms or it continues in its existence, even when it leaves its host or body. Now, we utilize this on a regular basis. Energy is based off of every quantum level, whether it be another universe, another dimension, or here. Every mass is created from energy, every body is created from energy, and even the mind itself is created from energy. So that means that the past, the present, the future, and so forth in quantum physics doesn't exist. That means that everything is flowing at the exact same time in the exact same existence. That also means that you already wrote your song, Joel. You just didn't know you wrote it. That also means that other people could pick up on that song and write it themselves because the other gentleman wrote the song 15 years ago, and then it snapped into their head 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
It also means that residual energy is a part of this. It means that technically your soul does exist after it's dead because energy transmutes and it moves on. If we use up a battery, does that mean that that energy in that battery just simply stops? No, it means it leaves the battery. We use the battery because the battery's a host.
Right.
The energy continues to go until it's eaten up by another energy and transforms into something else, or until it repeats its process and goes somewhere else and we capture it. So your soul does exist for a short period of time until it dissipates or transforms. Now, if you want to say that transforms and goes to heaven, so be it. Say that. If you want to say God utilizes that energy, so be it, and say that. If you want to say that energy just simply moves on into something else, so be it, say that. Scientifically, what I'm telling you is your energy leaves your body at one point. If you've ever watched anybody die, you know that happens. And then for a short period in time, everything that made you who you are still exists. That does not mean you continue to feel properly or you continue to live properly like we are right now. I have to have my body and my endocrines for my emotions to happen. In order for me to feel something, everything here and here have to work together. But everything I learned from that point, everything I felt from that point, everything I thought from that point, everything that I knew from that point still exists. It's all in your memories. It's all in your energy. It's all in everything that fired those neurons. And when that storage dissipates, just like a hard drive, that information goes somewhere else. So why can't it go out into space? Why can't you pick up residual energy of people walking back and forth? I did remember walking back and forth in my own house. I did walk back and forth in my own house. Why can't I communicate with you? If I remembered saying yes to somebody in a home or hello to somebody in a home when they said hello, would I not still say hello? Of course I would.
Right.
Until I change or something absorbs me and I disappear. It's that simple. And it goes on and on and on and on for people to understand that reality is an existence that science can explain. And I can go into what demons are. I can go into what angels are. I can go into other existence, how quantum levels interfere. It's all explained by science. We're just not ready to accept that yet.
We're not ready to accept a lot of things. I mean, he had, let's see, what was his name? Forgot his name all of a sudden. But he was right. We can't handle the truth.
Yeah.
Oh,
And, that was just a spur of the moment thing that he said, too. That wasn't Jack Nicholson. That wasn't even written in the script. He just came up with it. Yeah, he's still alive.
Unless you're the government. The government knows some of this shit. They just don't tell you it.
Well, they sure as hell willing to tell us we owe taxes.
Right.
yeah.
Suddenly. So,
No, it's a very interesting field. It really is. We've all thought about it as kids. Ghosts, goblins, ghouls, whatever you want to think of it as a kid. But that continues into adulthood. The what ifs. The mystery behind the veil. What is paranormal? And that got me in about 5 years ago. I met up with Chris, and he was into paranormal, and we talked a little bit. And I have more questions today being involved in the paranormal than I did before.
Right.
It's a continuous door, a revolving door. Every time I think I know something, I don't. Every time I find something, I don't. It just continues on and on and on.
I will say that I have become more skeptical.
Yeah.
Since I've been able to find out what is really truly paranormal, or what I feel truly is paranormal, what I can't truly explain. I mean, if I hear something, I'm going to go look and see what it is.
Right.
I'm not going to run from it. I'm going to run to it, see if it's something that is explainable. Again, the squirrel in the wall, the beehive in the wall. I've actually had that happen. And people actually thought it was demons growling at them. There are people out there that have ghost pets. Their pets have passed and they're ghosts, and they hear growling in their house and they just assume it's a demon. Well,
Mhm.
you know what? I'm a stranger in your house. Maybe it's your dog growling at me that died.
Right.
Not that time. I mean, maybe your dog was a little demon. I don't know.
Yeah.
But again, you know, that, and I'm like you, I have more questions now than I did before.
Absolutely.
And they're more educated questions too, because, you know, you have people out there in the paranormal community that are investigating, and they're pagan and they're saying it's a demon. Well, how can it be a demon if demons only exist?
I'm a
You know,
big person on tearing that apart in most cases. Though I will tell you, we've been in a couple of situations where my particular creature, whatever you want to call it, has popped out. And Joel was a very big skeptic when I started talking to him about it. I don't think he's much of a skeptic now, because between him and I and testing things on multiple boxes and so forth, we've had a couple of experiences, not only with my little, whatever you want to call it, but with his unique guy that picked up on a spirit box a little while back that make us kind of question if these things are real sometimes. But I'm a big skeptic sometimes on that word demon.
Flash a light on.
Even though I've seen things I can't explain, and I've personally been attacked by something I believe is one, most people scream demon for everything.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, and we all know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because he carries one in his pocket wherever he goes.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is some of the locations he's been to have never been told that they had a demon before.
Right.
And one of those places is McPike Mansion. That they
Which
have.
doesn't.
I gotta watch that because he'll sue the piss out of me.
But they just irritated the life out of me. But they did get a
Well,
really
we-
good EVP there of
We
my
did.
voice.
We did warn Sharon that they were gonna pull the demon card,
But she needed
and
the
she
money.
laughed and she goes, "What?" And we said, "No, they're gonna try and pull the." She goes, "We don't have any demons here." I said, "Oh, you do.
You do now.
You do now.
You will when they get done."
Yep.
They
At
leave
least
one for you.
they're here.
Yeah.
But they did get a really good EVP. If you listen to the episode of Ghost Adventures at McPike Mansion,
Yeah.
there's one EVP.
It sounds just
Sounds
like
like me.
Denise. Just
Oh,
like
And what's
the
funny,
first time we watched the episode, I looked. She goes, "That sound." I said, "Yeah, I know."
I wasn't. I was
She
sitting
wasn't
here
even
working.
really watching. She just heard it.
Yeah, I heard. And that sounds like
She
me.
goes, what are you watching?" I said, "This is McPike." She goes, "I wasn't there." I said, "I know." And then I rewound it, and yeah, it sounds just like Denise.
So it's funny. So, but yeah, and we were at Ashmore Estates at the time. So needless to say, yes, I was in Illinois, but not that far.
You know, that's one place I haven't been yet. Hopefully we're planning on going there this summer sometime. But that's one place we haven't been is Ashmore Estates yet. That'd be fun, Joe. We should do that.
I see that Sally had popped up a message saying there's a little girl that's attached to.
Yeah.
It's funny that she says that because that's what Lori called me about. We had a period of time to where our shoes all over the house kept getting strewed everywhere. You know, every time we'd get home, we blamed it on the dog. You know, I'd blame it on the dog, throw him in the cage, and we'd spank the dog, say, "Hey, stop bringing our shoes out." But Lori had mentioned that it's not the dog. You have a little girl there that loves messing with your shoes. So that's interesting that she says that.
Yeah, she says she's got pretty curly hair.
Yeah.
Huh? The same one that hangs out at the Sally house.
Right.
Sorry. I just kind of laugh.
She says she's attached to you.
Huh.
Yeah, it could be. We've definitely I don't know. I feel that we've definitely brought, or I have, a couple few home of, I showed a picture earlier of the toy box, and Lori had pinpointed, I don't know how Lori got in my house, but she definitely got in my house and told me to go upstairs and go to the right to my son's room. And that's where my son's room is. She goes, "Now look left." She's very, very descriptive when she was giving me directions on where to go. And,
that's a Baltimore thing. She likes to tell people where to go.
yeah. No,
Sally,
I shouldn't laugh about that. I really shouldn't. But when you know Lori, you can agree with that.
Right.
Like I said, we share a background. We didn't live that far from each other growing up, so we probably share a very similar upbringing. as far as that goes. And Sally, I knew it wasn't the Sally house. I was just teasing.
Yeah.
Joel has a tendency of getting a few attachments throughout his situation. KD, one of our good friends, Joel bought a spirit box off of him.
Yes, I know. I was just with him. Did you see my picture?
I love
back into your villa together.
I love KD. He's a great guy. But his spirit box that he created has a very specific set of situations where you can turn it off the standard cycles in order to go to more of a dead weight situation where there shouldn't be anything there. Every time we do that or did that, the ink box. Every time we do that, for a long period in time, we'd get this person that called himself the Reverend. Now, being the skeptic that I am, the first thing I say is, okay, well, this is broken up radio signal that's come up from the moon, bounced back. You're getting bits and pieces through the atmosphere. I can explain this. Until the Reverend broke down things that I can't explain because he knew things about our personal lives and conversations that we would have before we got to location.
Where was this?
Literally.
All over.
All over the place when you decided to show up.
Radio signals bounce off radio towers, and a radius. you definitely don't get the same radio station 700 miles away. So we'll go from North Ohio down to Tennessee and have the same radio station, if you want to call it that, cycled, and that the Reverend would come on. And I ever call him the Reverend or the Preacher Man or whatever. But an interesting story, Chris. I don't know if you know it or not, but I had a girl come up to me the last day of OSR, and she had to have that ink box. She says, I just have to have this ink box. It's got to be mine. So I ended up selling that ink box. I really did. I didn't want to. I knew you wanted it. I knew a few others wanted it. But there's an interesting, scientific research.
Katie has a lot more. He
does, but
he brought them to the event.
This box has really been kind of attached to me, and I kind of wanted to let that go. I wanted to find out if it was me or was it the box. So I let that go, and sure enough, she had contacted me a few days ago, and because she suggested the same thing, she said, it's got to be you. I think the Reverend's with you. Well, a couple of days ago, she had texted. She goes, hey, I found out the Reverend is not with you. She said, we're getting the Reverend now. So that is carried over into this box. And now wherever she goes with this same box, the Reverend comes on. And they're very particular about the conversations that they have. It's like the Reverend knows a little more than what he should.
You know what? Maybe he's the medium in there.
And he's really the hardest thing to explain about this Reverend is I'm not sure if he's a Reverend. I'm not sure what he is or where he comes from, but being a highly religious person that I have to separate because of the skepticism and the science and so forth, it's hard to do that with the Reverend. Yeah. Because at one point, a whole room of people watched me carry on a conversation with this man. And at one point, the Reverend started to call me what did he call me? He said, the wannabe prophet. Yeah. At one point. And he would explain situations to me that we had conversations on, nobody should know about, and so forth. I explained that. They watched us have a conversation at one point where this other thing that I've dealt with my whole life pops in, and the Reverend's arguing with this thing. This thing is arguing with the Reverend and me, and the three of us are carrying on a conversation in this spirit box and other boxes around the room, while everybody else is just watching us, by the way. It's just the three of us. I'm only concentrating on this creature that I deal with and the Reverend, and we're all carrying on a conversation while everybody's kind of sitting there staring, going, what the hell's going on here? Yeah. And at one point, it turns kind of dark. And I say, I can't remember. I asked a question at a time. Is there a demon here or are there angels here? And all of a sudden we hear this angelic music it just pops out of the blues. Mm-hmm. And it's real angelic music. It's hard to explain. It just popped out. Never heard it before.
It's like the heavens had opened and all goodness came out of it. Yeah, it was weird. It really was weird.
It would be weird.
Well, I'll tell you, Katie, we spent some time together. They had an ink box at the back of the
that thing works really good.
And Katie was using it, not Katie this time.
His wife.
And we were we were there with Sarah and Katie, and I got up to go to the bathroom. Okay, we had a whole shitload of people in the room, and I knew that when we broke, everybody was going to run for the bathroom because there was only 2. So I'm like, I'm going for a break, and the box said that I was going, said something about me going.
Yeah.
After I walked out of the room, it said she left.
Yeah.
And I was like, great. And Sarah's going. This is Sarah Lemos. She's going. Apparently, something in here likes her, and I go. I said, being a tour guide in Atchison for 7 years, maybe the spirits know who I am because I had been there before, whatever, And so I just thought it was odd because that was only the second time I'd been in Atchison since 2017.
We had a theory that perhaps maybe this narrows down to very specific frequencies that most people don't use, radio frequencies and so forth, that Joel and I have been tinkering around with for 2-3 years. And think of it this way. If there is specific frequencies and certain people can amplify those frequencies, why couldn't something connect at that period in time? And I think we got, with Katie's box, I think we got pretty damn close there to kind of either debunking that or proving it could be possible.
Yeah, you should actually come out and check out the house there in Smithville.
Yeah.
That was an interesting place. We stayed there, and I told Katie, I said, I know where the portals are. And he goes, so do I. He goes, you tell me where they are. And I told him, and Katie comes in, and she goes, that's where the portals are. She didn't know what we were talking about, but she figured it out pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then he goes, there's not usually a lot of people that go and spend the night there that are paranormal people because it's a bed and breakfast, or well, it's supposed to be a bed and breakfast, but they give you a discount if you don't get breakfast, if you just leave. So, but we had a lot of interesting things happen there. Like we told him, I wear glasses. Okay, so I took my glasses off and I sat them on this ice cream table set in the bedroom. It's across the room in a bay window, sit them down, we go to bed. Next morning, we're packing up. I can't find my glasses anywhere. And usually they're on the top of my head. I don't even have them on today, but usually they're on the top of my head and I know where they are. We go through my bag, my second bag, because I had paranormal equipment as well. We go through all that, can't find it. I look everywhere in the house. Part of the house is shut off, you can't get to. So I go everywhere I've been, can't find them. Go upstairs and I look under the bed. I don't know why, but there's a, you know how the old beds had springs that you just put on the bed and then you put the mattress on top? Mm-hmm. There was an extra one of those under the bed because they sometimes rent out another room and put up an extra bed. In the middle of all these little rectangles, in the middle, my glasses are sitting upright where the lenses are facing up, just sitting there. So what are the odds? I couldn't have kicked them under there.
Right.
Because it would have hit this thing and would have went ding. So I come downstairs with my glasses. He goes, where were they? I said, they were under the bed. He goes, how in the hell did they get under there? I don't know. And this is a place that Frank James, same Jesse James' brother, used to go there and hang out. Quantrill's Raiders, the guy who was on Quantrill's Raiders, used to live in this house. And so there's weird stuff going on in there. What it is, I don't know, but you can't really do EVPs. It's too loud. Right. Because it's right on the road. So I don't know.
James gets around a lot, you know it?
Well, he used to, a funny fact is he used to be the guy that would shoot the gun to start the horse races in Smithville when they had horse racing.
He did the same thing up here in Gallatin. He was the Grand Marshal.
Yeah.
I mean, who'd have thunk?
Yep.
So.
Yeah, we live up in the area of Frank and Jesse James. In the town I live in is where they robbed the bank up here at Gallatin, Missouri, and shot the guy and killed him inside. And then Winston, Missouri, 8 miles away, is where they robbed the train.
You know, there's many stories that I could tell. You know, the 5 years that we've been on the road, there's not too much that's happened in my book. You know, I'm a huge skeptic in paranormal. It's got to really raise the hairs up on my arms for me to really kind of raise an eyebrow at any piece of evidence. But
Mm-hmm.
one time, I took my family to a place in Bryan, Ohio. And we stayed at a bed and breakfast there. It's a haunted location, the haunted church, the whole town. But I thought it'd be cool, the history behind that, and took my whole family there. And I don't know, I kind of believe in the protection, you know, an angel or something's protecting us out there, you know, helping us along the way. Because my 4-year-old son, I think he was 3 at the time, you know, we're staying at this old place, you know, everything in there is from the 1800s. Well, we get up in the morning and we get packed up and we get ready to head out. But next thing we know is we hear a crash in the other room. So I hurry up and run into the room, and this giant 1800s mirror, I mean, it must have weighed 500 pounds.
Oh yeah.
This mirror had come down on top of my 3-year-old son.
Oh crap!
I mean, it shattered. Glass was all over him. He was crushed.
Oh.
So I lift up the glass, the biggest piece that I could see that was on top. I thought I was going to have to rush him to the hospital. There wasn't a scratch on him. He didn't whine. He didn't get hurt whatsoever. So you've got a 500-pound mirror that just came tumbling down full force on my son and shattered over his body, and not a scratch on him. I can't explain that today.
Angels were protecting.
What he's not telling you is, guys, that actual bed and breakfast was in a monastery, one of the first and oldest monasteries in Ohio that got transformed into a bar and grill with
Absolutely.
a bed and breakfast on the top of it. So there's actually a religious background there as well of how God is there and angels and so forth. So to find out that happens is not only a miracle in itself, but it's a little side story that again is amazing to tell. Irene, by the way, I read your thing there. You'll take us to a hair raising village where my husband grew up. I and Joel are always game to go to a hair raising village.
That's in Japan.
Is it?
Yeah.
One day if we
Japan.
get to Japan, I will be more than glad to go there.
Definitely got to look her up.
Yeah.
I will be
She's a
more
great
than glad
lady.
to go there. In fact, you'll find that I'm one of the people that dives straight into danger before anybody else.
I think I've been to that Howling Village.
We'll be there in the fall.
Sounds familiar.
We had I guess in the 5 years that we've been together, we haven't had very many experiences where it's just, bam, that's a ghost. Octagon Hall was one of them, and we weren't expecting that one. We were going up the steps. I think I told one of you or both of you about that a little bit. We were heading up the
Octagon
steps.
Hall in Kentucky, right?
Yep.
Southern
We were
Kentucky.
heading up the steps to debunk another team because they said they saw the rocking chair go back and forth. So Joel and I are like, yeah, nah, we're going to set a camera there. We're going to catch the fact that this is all crap. And we started to go up the steps, and Joel just says, okay, guys, I'm on my way up. And the first thing we hear is, hello. And we stop. And Joel he's stunned. He's like, did you hear that? I'm like, yes, I did. So I go upstairs immediately to turn around and see if it's somebody downstairs. And I say, guys, is that you? Brandon, are you coming in the door? And some guy right behind me goes, no. And we caught it all on tape. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's all on it's in the archives. I got that all on video, and you can hear it plain as day, a woman's voice. And it was actually it was probably the first year that I'd become an investigator. It was my first real Class A. I mean,
She actually said goodbye when we left, too. He says, okay, I'm leaving. And you can hear her go, goodbye.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Just some of the evidence that we've gotten. You know, I jumped in both feet thinking that everywhere we went, wherever we went, it was all going to be hard. I was going to catch so much evidence. In 5 years, I could probably count on one hand the real evidence that I just absolutely cannot explain.
I warned you, though. I told you most of this, buddy, it's going to be boring as crap.
I mean, let's be honest. This is fishing. You know, we spend a lot of time sitting still and being quiet and listening. And, you know, will we catch anything? I don't know. But I will tell you, I have never caught an EVP that I know of.
But,
we caught that one, and we chased around one at a hospital that I still can't explain. We literally chased around something at a hospital I can't explain. I have no idea how to explain that.
Well, she says it best, and I believe in that whole fishing thing, and I believe that some people catch more fish than others. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a real good fisherman, but when it comes to paranormal, I can't catch shit.
No.
We got a
Sometimes
couple of other incidents outside of that are unexplainable on Katie's box and a handful of other things. But, I mean, reality is, in my whole 30 years, I think I could count less than that.
Well, I'll tell you, Katie was all excited. He was telling me about one of his favorite things that he built was for Jack Osborne.
Yeah.
And he was telling me all about it. We were at a public event, so we couldn't really spend a lot of time talking. But you know, we were their special guests at the event. Katie sent me a thing, and she goes, "You guys come." She goes, "I just want you guys to come. I want to visit with you." And so we went, and there was another event that they went to that I drove the hour up there to see them. Mm-hmm. He couldn't. He was doing something. But I drove all the way up to this event just to see them. I didn't care if I met anybody else. And but I did end up getting Katie involved with what is that place? What's that place in St. Joe, Carl?
Oh,
the house on the hill.
Yeah. Bell Mansion.
Yeah. Not Bale.
No.
The Beatty Mansion.
Beatty, yeah.
Got him involved with those people up there and got myself a free tour.
Katie's a guy just like Joel. I can't talk enough about him. He's intelligent. He's smart. He's inventive. He tends to concentrate more on the work than he does the fame or the fortune or anything else. Even though he's gotten a taste of it, he's kind of a shy guy.
There's no fortune in the paranormal.
No.
Unless you've got money to start with. And
at least not now. When mainstream first started, I'm going to be honest with you, a handful of people got their hands in pretty deep. They were already fairly well off when they got there, contrary to what they want to say. Mm-hmm. And they invested in media and television, as well as a handful of other things, including a store that's on that I won't diss because I just went apparently viral saying the wrong thing, that yes, they make a very good living now on mainstream and television and the paranormal. But the average person is never going to get there. There's no money to make in the paranormal, guys.
I mean, they used to pay people for doing things. You know, like it used to be if you were guest on a show. You at least got your gas paid for to get up there.
Yep.
Oh, now it's all voluntary unless you get really, really lucky.
Right.
I probably give away $10,000 in equipment every year. I give away that much.
Yeah, and guys, it took me literally 5 years to get to the position where I got somebody willing to pay me to actually be on TV. And I ain't going to get – I didn't. I've already been paid for it. I didn't get paid that much, guys. I'm just going to be honest with you.
And that's right. You know, as long as your expenses are covered and you get a per diem, you're probably fine.
Yeah.
But I didn't even get that. But I did get paid for helping film the movie that they filmed in Atchison.
Awesome.
I did get that for being the liaison. But, I mean, I worked my ass off getting them hotel places to stay.
That's where the money is. That's where the money is. In the past 8 years, I've gotten more money off of working PR for Discovery, the Travel Channel, MTV, and working behind the scenes than I ever got offered on any paranormal show. Now, granted, I'm only on shows for 15 or 20 minutes, but that's beside the point.
Well, of course, you know, I heard from a friend that if you're on TV for more than 3 minutes, you're famous. It's like I was on TV I thought it was 8 minutes because I only made 10.
Right. Super famous now.
Don't even get me started on that. I think I've been on a handful of shows throughout the years. I don't brag about it. Like I told the gentleman up at the top there, I don't even know when they come on. People have to tell me on Facebook, "Hey, Chris, I saw you on TV." Good for you. I had no idea they even aired it.
You know what? I only know that they're airing my Sally House episode when I get an influx of friend requests and nudes.
Right.
That's true.
Yep.
I don't know why people think that I need to see that. But I don't, and you can ask him. I tell him, get that thing away from me.
Yeah.
Right.
So keep that in mind, people.
Yeah, well, and it was just fun to do for me. I just enjoyed it.
was.
The first time I did
Yeah,
it, I didn't get
small.
paid anything. They came to me. The second time I did it, I got paid for travel. I enjoyed it. The third or fourth time, it was just for, excuse my term, but shits and giggles. I happened to be, somebody said, "Hey, you want to come here and we'll film you?" Sure, why not? And up until recently, I didn't get paid for anything. And even then, it was just a pre-negotiated situation where it's like, hey, travel, and I got to mention Nikam and Joel's cameras. So
Okay.
I got to mention a little bit to try to boost us in that process
Right.
and do what I do anyway. So why bother acting like you're a big deal anyway? I mean, come on, like you're saying, it's 5 or 10 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there.
I tell people all the time, I was on TV for Romper Room much longer than I was on TV for the Sally House on Ghost Adventures. I'm sorry, but does that make me famous? I've been on the news. I was on commercials here for the college.
I can honestly tell you guys, you will see my elbows, my legs, my back end, and my hand more on TV because I managed a camera for Lord knows how many people for years than you will ever see my face on TV.
I'm still waiting for those episodes where we're behind the scenes for the couple different shows that we did.
Yeah.
Well, like
Yeah.
I said, I can't wait to hear about those when you can share.
Right.
So my name is on so damn many NDAs. I can't even tell you how many.
Oh yeah,
So
it's crazy too because I've signed some NDAs in the past with using Nikam on some certain shows, but I've never seen an episode 1 of Nikam. I'm still trying to get this whole marketing thing down. I've noticed for 5 years now, unless I come up with something new every other month, it fades out. I'll get like a generation 1 camera, and everybody and their brother wants to have one. They got to have one. And then once that fades out, nobody talks about it. Then I come up with something new, and everybody's got to have it. Then it fades out.
that's
I'm
like
gonna
that.
start
That reminds me of that Paranormal Puck.
I don't know.
Right.
I mean,
That
that
thing's
was
a joke.
they had it on 2 or 3 shows, and then that was it.
That thing's a joke.
They lost it. I mean, let's be honest.
I'm not much of a big one on any of the tech that comes out very rarely. I promote a handful of people. I think it's great the inventors are out there. Yeah, he froze. Joel, you're gonna laugh your butt off when you see how you froze, buddy.
Oh, he is, isn't he?
Like Ryan,
But the tech,
Take a snapshot of that. And
he'll have to probably restart his phone and then jump back in. But the tech involved, I encourage people to experiment. But the problem is we've gotten so stale that we rely on what we saw on tech on TV.
your phone.
And that's the biggest issue that you run into is everybody thinks
That
it's
would be
just this, and this. And I'm the guy that says it's not this, and this. What we need to do is we need to think beyond this, and this.
right.
We need to start thinking about light spectrums. I had people look at me last year when we were out and about, and they were just stunned at me going, well, why are you doing that? I take different lights, different flashlights at different spectrums of flashing in different colors, spread them all across the room and turn them on and see what we get. And you'd be surprised how much activity we got. And we do it with audio and sound and all kinds of crazy things just to see what we would get. It's just a phenomenal situation that people are just, let's use this box, let's use this box, let's use this box. That's why I'm fascinated with people like Austin Maynard, who is now just jumping out and he's building all kinds of crap. And he's got all kinds of people building crap around him.
Well, that's why I like all these people that are inventing things to try to use in the paranormal. Hard to tell when somebody's going to stumble on to the exact same thing that we're going to be able to see.
Well, that's the thing. I hate to call it crap because it's not. Austin's done some wonderful work with a bunch of different things. Joel does wonderful work with a bunch of different things. Jay Prather tries to break the dimensions with quantum physics. I think all of that is truly fascinating. I think more people should do it and just concentrate on that. Just concentrate on that. Try to break the limits. Try to break the science. In the old days, that's what you did. If you got a college professor in, did you think the college professor went out there with a ghost box? No, he wired up that whole freaking house with whatever he could think of. And
Right.
then inventively tried something new and hopefully ran across something. If he couldn't, then, well, sorry, guys, science can't explain it.
Right.
Just so you know, I have a picture of you frozen that I'm going to share later.
Yeah,
You kind of
you
froze
froze
like this.
Am I the only one that got booted?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got
No.
froze.
Yeah, been black.
And
But,
there you go
And he
again.
froze again.
At least it's a less dorky. There he goes.
Oh, okay.
Let's get back into that 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah, what's happening with my phone here?
Let's get back into that 15 minutes of fame and a controversial thing. I have seen so much drama on Facebook and social media and situations that it caused me to drop out at one point. I pretty much told everybody, I don't know if a year ago, if any of you watched my videos, it had my fame drop a little bit, but I still had my links. I pretty much got very blunt about it. I got very, very blunt about it. I said, look, man, y'all are freaking nuts.
Yeah, they are.
Y'all are freaking nuts, and this is the way it is, and you need to seek mental help. You need to do this and do that. But let's just be honest here, and I'll be blunt to everybody. I know this might piss off a few people, but you had your 15 minutes of fame. So freaking what? You got your documentary on, and you think you're God. So freaking what? You're not.
Right,
You got your 20,000 YouTube, your 20,000 supposed followers on Facebook. Here's a newsflash, guys. I work in PR and marketing. 20,000 followers doesn't mean squat. It means you're lucky if you get 20 to comment or look at you.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I'm following all kinds of crap.
You know, that's the case.
I'm never on there.
There's a bunch of people out there that seem to think, hey, man, I know. I got my YouTube channel. I got on Amazon. I did my documentary. I'm a team. Look at me. I got 2,000-3,000 people following me. Well, I'm here to tell you, you ain't squat. Okay? You're not on TV. You're not famous. You're not important. And you darn sure aren't really caring about the paranormal, which is why you're arguing about it on Facebook back and forth. We don't care.
See, that's the problem with paranormal is everybody's kind of lost their humbleness. You know, no one's humble anymore.
No,
you know, it's all boastful.
They're not.
And boast so much.
And when you get to the point that where you're in the paranormal and it's all about the science and the research and meeting the people and the stories and the people that you love and the people that you care about, honestly, guys, we don't care. We really don't care.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll tell you,
How
I
many-
just like meeting all the people. That's my favorite part of being part of the Sally House stuff was just meeting all those people and making friends with everybody.
Exactly.
I have memories of all that. I don't, you know
Yeah.
what? Yeah, I was on Ghost
hundreds,
Adventures.
hundreds
Who
of
cares?
people over a weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
how many conventions have you been to? There's been all-out brawls. None. You know, you get all these people on the social media platform saying, "Well, I'm going to kick your ass," and
yeah.
so
And
much.
there's always lawsuits and all this
Right.
other crap, and it's like,
Bragging, tearing people apart, ripping
And-
people back and forth.
No.
and I have no desire to be part of that.
Yeah.
No.
If I go to an event, I want it to be fun. I
Right.
want it to be. I don't care if Joe over here doesn't like David over here. I don't care.
Exactly.
You know, you don't let people know that. The main thing is that okay. We all know from watching me for all this time. You know, I have resting bitch face and all that, which is the reason why I don't do video very much, and I will be though, and stuff. But when I'm in a public place, I have to watch that because I don't want somebody to misread
Yeah.
my resting bitch face as I'm being a bitch, because I'm not. Because when I'm like that, I'm listening or I'm paying attention to what's going on around me. I remember everything about every event we've went to where I've met somebody that I care about now. You know, like Carl. I met Carl at a paranormal convention. I met David Glidden at a paranormal convention. And I'm never going to let go of these people. Okay. But there have been some people I've met at these paranormal conventions that I found out that I don't want to be around.
Exactly.
They're not what they portray themselves to be.
No.
We've met a lot of people throughout the years that we thought were good people, and it turns around that once things didn't work to their advantage, they just blatantly, bam, stabbed you right in the back for no reason.
And ran you over with a bus too.
wanted to run their mouth about things, going, "Oh, I know, you're this, you're that." And of course, if you're genuine, you keep coming back like me and go, "Hey, you know what? Do what you got to do, man, because you ain't gonna find anything on me. I am who I am. I do what I
Right.
do. I really don't give two craps what you do."
Right.
That's how I live my life.
We've met a lot of great people along the way.
We have.
That we still care about and still talk to today, that 5 years later we're just as best friends as we were 5 years ago.
We are, and that's what's important.
Yeah.
All this other stuff, it's not important. We don't really care who you are. We don't really care what you think you want to be. It's about the other people. It's about what you learn along the road. It's about the journey in life. It's about the journey of other people. Even if we don't find any evidence that proves anything, you know what? At the end of my life, when I die, I can say, I went all across the United States of America, maybe somewhere else. I met the greatest people I ever met. I had a hell of a lot of fun doing it. I learned a lot. I enjoyed the time I was there, and it was fun. And who knows? Maybe doing that, a few people will remember me too.
Yep.
I mean, that's all I want.
Right.
You know, I have people contact me still saying, "Hey, you remember when we did this? Hey, next time you're in Leavenworth, stop by and see me." And we've made real friends
Yep.
through the paranormal. Yes, I have to tell Ron, Chris, you're lucky your last name's Houston. He can remember that. But there's people that we meet. I have to give them nicknames so that Ron can remember who they are.
Right.
I don't blame you, Ron. I've met so many people that I have many, many times the moment they left looked at Joel and said, "Who was that?"
We have Rick.
I'm real good at faces. I can remember faces, but I can't match a name.
That's the way I am. I can't. Somebody will walk right up to me and say, "Hey, Chris, how you doing? It's great to see you. I haven't seen you in years." And I'll be like, "Oh yeah, it is good to see you." I'll remember that face right off the bat. Have no idea what the name is.
Well, it's like with him. We had multiple friends named Rick. So we had one that was Rick Rose, and you know who Rick Rose is. And we had one, his name was Rick, and he lived in Springfield, Missouri, so he became Rick Springfield. Now he's Rick Richmond because he's moving back to Richmond. Virginia.
She'd say Rick, and I say which one. She'd look at me and go, Rose or Springfield. Then I knew.
Or Wade,
Or Rick Wade, yeah.
And once he's met them in person, it's easier. But it's hard to, I have to tell him sometimes how we met this person or where we met them, something like that, so he'll remember, so I can trigger something.
Oh yeah, we got one we call Boston Rob, and I don't even know why. His name's Joe.
Yeah, but he originally came from Boston, which is where he got the nickname Boston. He has a very firm Boston accent.
Oh well, that was.
I have no idea where Rob came from or Bob came from. It
I
just
remember
popped out of the bunch.
It was Mike Brooks that thought his name was Rob.
Oh yeah, he kept calling him Rob.
So we called him Boston Rob.
What did Farrah keep calling Carl?
Oh.
One of my friends, I don't know if you know Farrah Rose. She's a demonologist.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we just went to her wedding, and when we had her on, she kept calling Carl some other name.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was now.
I don't either, but I was like, okay, whatever you want to call me, it don't matter.
And she just kept telling him, whatever the name was, just kept calling him that. And it's like, all I could do was smile and laugh.
Yeah.
If I know her, it's because either I respect her or she hates me. That word demonologist with me is a very touchy subject because I spent so much time diving into it throughout the years in theology.
She wouldn't hate anybody.
Then I probably just respect her if we've met.
Do you remember Ken Deal?
Yeah.
That's who she was married to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we've met. It's been a long time ago, but
they went to school together.
Yeah.
Ken and Ron grew up in the same neighborhood together.
I spent almost 11 years diving into theology, maybe 12. I finally, about 4 years ago, got a chance to spend about an hour and a half with the Catholic Church in Rome and the actual demonology study section and the professors there that work with the church, and asking them a bunch of questions and how it divides into exorcism and what their version of demonology was, after talking to voodoo priests about what they think it is, and the Baptist church and Jews and you name it. I've talked to everybody when it comes to demonology. So I'm really, really particular on it because there's a lot of people out there that claim demonology is what it's not and feel that they are exorcists when they're a load of crap.
To be an exorcist, you have to give up so much to be a real exorcist.
Well, and it's not only just that. It depends on your religion, because there are different forms of what exorcism is. But let's use the Catholic Church as an example. You can't just become an exorcist. You not only have to give up your life, there is no, contrary to belief, contrary to what everybody tells you here. I am going to tell you, because this came from Rome itself, there is no training course here in the United States of America for exorcism.
And I can give you some names of people who teach those courses and go, don't do it.
Right.
And exorcism is actually a branch off.
A lot of money.
There's exorcism course. The exorcism course in Rome is actually a branch off from demonology itself. Demonology is a whole course that never gets into exorcism. You can choose to get into it, but what it is a study in relation of the word demon to Catholic religion. So mostly, to be honest with you, most demonologists in Rome spend their whole life behind books at a church. They don't fight demons.
Right.
They don't go to houses. They read books, guys.
Yep. And that's what Ken did. He knew everything that he could possibly know that he was allowed to know.
Right.
Because the laymen are only allowed to know so much.
Yeah, there's a lot of books you can't get access to, a lot of theologies that are locked up.
And most of what they did back then was interview for the Catholic Church. Mm-hmm. They weren't the ones that were actually doing the prayers and all that, but they were there to assist.
That's what I did at the tail end. I actually recorded the interviews.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't the interviewee most times, but I was the guy that would set up the camera, sit in the background. They did let me do some questions with certain family members, but that's what I was involved in at the tail end of everything. That's why I tell you, back then, it was a totally different than it is now. You didn't really have teams that went in. You had specialists that went in.
Right.
They actually brought in psychiatrists to debunk things. They actually brought in scientists to debunk things. They actually brought in people to do interviews that had real backgrounds and real educations. They bring in people that did do demonology study to review things after the case went through, but they very rarely were out in the field.
What were your thoughts on, remember the show The Demon Files with Ralph Sarchie?
I remember it, never watched it.
Okay, then you don't have an opinion. You won't have an opinion.
I very rarely watch these shows, to be honest with you. Ever since I worked the back end of a very famous show, doing B work and realizing what reality TV was, that introduced me into a lot of other things, I just stopped watching TV shows. I just didn't. Paranormal TV shows are just, I can almost tell you it's probably not as real as people think because it's on TV.
Well, the thing is you don't always get activity.
Right.
You know, that's
it's not just that. Some of these people try to be genuine, but at the end of the day, it's all about entertainment. And entertainment means that you stage events. Just like if we were to watch, I have some very, very good friends that are on other reality TV shows. This is how I got into reality TV in the first place. I have friends that were on The Bachelorette. I have friends that have been on The Real World. I have friends that have been on many, many shows that I still work with. Some of them, actually. They're good friends of mine. And the reality TV is not all reality. You stage a percentage of it, and then you allow the reality to take forth, and you pull from that. That means that you script a lot of this, even though you don't. You set up events a lot of times, even though you don't. And then you watch it play out at that point, and you take that and you put it into entertainment. So in the ghost world, when that happens, well, like you said, you're going to have days where you don't get squat. That means you got to take squat and turn it into something.
Mm-hmm.
So that means when you're not getting squat after somebody's been out there for 3 or 4 hours, you make squat. That's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. Even if the actor doesn't know you're making squat, you still plan to make squat.
We saw that happen, and Carl knows what I'm thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
And because Captain Caviar's house did not have a full body apparition go through there.
No.
Because if it had, we'd have all seen it on the news, and it would have been everywhere if they really truly caught a full body apparition during one of these reality TV shows. Am I correct?
No.
Yeah. You'd be able to see a full body apparition. You'd know it's a full body apparition. You'd be able to see it's a full body apparition. You'd know it was there in the house.
In this case, it was a
hologram.
hologram.
Well, and when it's
exactly
not
what it looked
holograms,
like. First time I saw it, I went, "They look like a hologram." That's why I said in my mind, she was over here on a computer, and I rewound it. I said, "Denise, watch this." And she goes, "That's a hologram." I said, "I know."
when
And
it's
they
not
kept showing it over and over and over, like, "Oh my gosh, what we got?"
when it's not holograms, it's very, very easy in reality TV to set the stage, to have people react. And then I'll tell you right off the bat, when you can pay for an editing team, everybody thinks that it's just like when you put together a show on Amazon or YouTube. Hey, look, I put this all together and they fund me. Newsflash, guys, that's not how it works, okay? It's just not how it works. You may think it's how it works. You may have submitted your show that way, but once you get to a certain level, it's not how it works. It's called, we have teams of editors. There are people in the background that actually film. Well, not me because I'm not big enough, but I've been on sets where people have. You have actual camera crews behind you, not some guy like me and Joel that are partial camera crews for a small show. You have actual camera crews behind you, and you have an editing team. And I'm going to tell you right now, you got a good editing team and a good audio team because I've been on the audio. You can make anything out of anything.
Right. Exactly.
You can actually, and I know people that have said it, and I know the reality shows because I've been on one. You can actually wear the same shirt, which has happened to one of our friends, in 4 or 5 episodes, and they'll cut those 4 or 5 episodes to make it one episode to make you sound like you said something you never said.
Right.
I
know.
Just as one example.
We've had that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And on set, it's really easy to get people spooked. It's really easy to manipulate a few situations. This is just the way it is. It's reality TV. It's just like setting one guy against another in The Bachelorette or on The Real World or somewhere else. All you got to do is wait until the cameras are off and slip something in the left ear of the guy, and that guy's going to be pissed. So he's going to go right on, and all you got to do is videotape it at that point. He's going to say something to the guy that you just told the other guy in the right ear, and now they're going to argue with each other. Great, I got good TV right here, man.
That's right. Well, I know we see it every day on the news.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I always said if you wanted the best reality TV show ever, you would just put a bunch of these drama people in the same room that you see on Facebook every single day and push a few buttons before you hit record.
Right. It's the same thing I do on our Second Amendment Rant show that we do over here at the Bill of Rights Network. Right before the show, I'll tell my co-host Cameron, I'll get him riled up. So when we go live, he's like, he did it again.
All you got to say to Cameron is, how was your day, Cameron?
That's it. He'll start about his job, and I'll say, well, did you hear about
the gas prices in wherever?
Yeah.
Speaking of Second Amendment, they're out shooting concealed carry right now. You guys could probably hear the shots. I live next to a State Highway Patrol. He's doing concealed carry classes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're out there shooting right now.
They can live in the country.
Joel's a part of our backup plan. I'm a big prepper.
Yeah.
Right behind my tarp, which is why it's here, I have a closet that's loaded full of medical supplies. In my next room, I have over 12 months of generic food supplies and emergency supplies. Downstairs, I could create a whole medical bay if necessary. So what don't I have? I don't have guns. Well, he's got the people with the guns. I don't have the capability of creating a full farm or fishing. So, well, Joel's got the land for that. So we all kind of group together and say, what's going to happen if an apocalypse really happens? Well, you got to group together anyway. So Joel's a part of the bailout plan. Hey, you know what? Now we know somebody with a little bit of medical background. I literally can put together an emergency med bay in 15 minutes. I literally have all the supplies to do it.
I think everybody should be prepared at one time or another. You know, it may be a little bit of a, conspiracy this, conspiracy that, but there's got to be some truth of conspiracy somewhere along the line.
You got to need something that if something should happen, you can survive.
Right.
You know, that's like living in the Midwest growing up, like you said, deer hunting and fishing and everything. That's what we all do around here.
Yep.
Right.
Well, right now the economy is going so bad that, to be honest with you, I'm planning on canning. My garden is growing incredibly well outside.
Mine's
You know, I'm going back to old school days when I was a kid. Shoot, we didn't go out and buy everything. We very rarely went out to eat. If we could do local marketing and went to the local food markets, we'd do that. I'm going to buy local meat, put it in my freezer. You know, I mean, why not? Why not? It's going to cut the cost incredibly. I'm already saving hundreds of dollars a month by doing what I do.
Yep.
Exactly.
No, I've got 3 acres next door that I've already got one greenhouse built. Instead of me mowing 3 acres, why not utilize it and live off the land a little bit more? So I'm going to fill that up with, some hydroponics. I'm going to start growing a lot of herbs and spice and just anything that I can to kind of start living off the land a little bit more. And, we don't even go get our meat at Kroger anymore. It's all, we do half cows, quarter pig, whatever.
That's what I
Right.
started
I'm
doing.
getting my meat from a butcher.
Yep.
and
Buy it from a local butcher, and I have a whole garden out back that's all herb garden. I have everything from elderberry to lemon balm to peppermint, spearmint, a couple of things I probably shouldn't have.
Well, I
and
mean,
just-
the government thinks that we need them. We depend on them, and
No, they need us more than they need.
we
them.
can't survive without them. But I got news for them. There's a lot of us that can. There's still a lot that can't. But education is key when it comes to survival. Without a government, and a lot of us are on that edge of actually educating ourselves and others that you can do without a government. You really can.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I keep telling Ron, I said maybe we should become sovereign citizens.
Right.
Uh-huh.
well,
But you're talking about survival. I actually just went out a couple weeks ago and picked a whole bunch of red clover to make clover jelly.
Yeah.
I just found out where I can find some honeysuckle right in next to the field next to my house. I'm going to be making some jelly out of that too. You can make tea out of the clover.
well, that's a
After
lot
you
of
get the
times
bugs
that's
out of it.
that's the thing that I tell everybody is medicinal medicine is key. My wife, as an example, has epilepsy. What's going to happen if society breaks down and you can't get epileptic drugs? Well, you have to know how to survive during that situation. So you have to have certain herbs, certain plants. You have to know how to operate there. So medicinal medicine is a key thing. You really should get yourself a book and understand what you can collect in the wild, because
Right.
that could save you under certain situations.
Do you watch any of those survival shows at all?
Absolutely.
I do too. We love those shows. Dual survival, not so much anymore. But that they named it wrong. It should have been DUEL survival, not
Right.
UAL.
Right.
But I love watching those shows, the homesteading shows. And my friend Farrah that we had on here, Farrah Rose, she's starting their own homestead in Houston, Missouri, Chris.
Awesome.
So,
Houston's a good name to have.
well, I didn't know we had a Texas County, Missouri, but we do.
We
Um,
do.
But yeah, she's starting a homestead down there. And so for wedding gifts, I got her homesteading stuff, canning supplies. Because the smaller jars, the pint and the quarts, you can't find.
Yeah.
So I gave her
They
some of
they
mine.
totally disappeared up here in Ohio for a while. They're finally starting to sell them again, but all of the canning supplies during COVID-19 just gone.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So needless to say, that was probably the most expensive gift she got. Was those jars, lids, and extra lids, the disposable stuff. Because of the fact that if you don't know what you're doing, this could really screw you up. But she had a whole buttload of half-gallon jars. And it's like, she goes, but I can't find the little ones. So I was like,
I had a discussion with somebody just a week ago, and they were talking about creating a bug out bag.
Mhm.
And they were talking about, well, what do we do? Well, here's the reality of things. Just so everybody knows, in a survival situation, the odds of you being alone as that lone survivalist living off the land is probably not going to happen. But small little things are key. I had people first laugh at me until they think about it. What happens when you have a headache if you don't know how to live off the land? Well, do you have ibuprofen in your bug out bag? Do you have Tylenol in your bug out bag? Most people say no. Why not?
It's required. I have it in my car.
Right.
Why not have
No matter
Tylenol? Why
what.
not have one little small thing of cough syrup? It sounds silly, but those little things for an emergency bug out are life and death.
Right.
Because it's going to help you. It's great to have all this other stuff, a tourniquet and bandages and rubbing alcohol. I've got all that. But if you can't brush your teeth and take care of your headache, you're still screwed, people. If you can't take care of that minor cut with a little Neosporin, you're still going to get infected, people.
That's right.
So think in your means when you're trying to survive. Get what you can do, but think reality. And then you'll probably be able to get to the next location anyway.
And also think about where you've got to survive at.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, be prepared.
Absolutely.
Because if you're trying to survive, you're in Florida, well, you're not going to probably need some things. You're not going to need a coat.
Well, in reality is you're going to bug in before you bug out anyway.
Yeah.
Reality is when it first hits, you're going to stay at home. You're going to bug in before you bug out. Bugging out should always be your last ditch scenario, and you should always have somewhere close to go where there are more than one person that you can team up with at that point. So if you can stay at home for as long as you can, stay at home. If you can't defend your homestead, have the quickest way out with the quickest things prepped you can to get the hell out of that environment. You're not going to be able to bring everything you have in your house. Don't think about it.
I've always wondered too that every year I give all that away, equipment wise. When we go to conventions, I give everything, cameras to lasers to everything that I produce on my website. But the key piece of giveaway that no one's ever come back and wondered why I give them away is I give away 3-day bags, 2-day bags, 24-hour bug out bags, and everything inside these bags is all paranormal equipment. I've had not one person ask me, what are these bags? See, I sell survival equipment or survival bags, and no one's ever asked me in the paranormal field why these 36-hour bags, why these 24. They've never asked. They just, oh, look at this cool bag. But I try to give away as many survival bags as I can, and I don't think one person utilizes that and packs it with actual survival equipment or things needed to bug out.
Especially run and gun. Think about it, guys. If you're trying to get home in the first place and you're coming from work, do you really need mountain house materials in your bag, or do you need some protein bars, some fruits, and some nuts, and more important things to get home?
No.
Oh, and bottled water.
And a bottle of water.
Or as Tina Garcia says, a way to purify water. So you need one of those
Exactly.
straws.
Well, I tell you, life straws are great, but reality is purification tablets work better. They're lighter. They can purify virtually anything. You don't have to worry about boiling the water at that point. Get yourself a bottle and some purification tablets. On top of that, when you're running, think about more common things. Instead of filling yourself with mountain house bags that are going to bulk it up, fill yourself with fishing wire just to be safe. Get yourself a tarp. Get yourself in a blanket for overnight. Don't worry about the tent. Don't forget your survival knife, your machete, or your axe, because that way, if you are overnight, you've got a few basic things. Toothbrush, painkillers, basic bandages. A tourniquet is always good. All these simple things, because if it's a one-day travel to get home, you do not need to overthink it. You just need to survive to get home.
Right.
Well, one of these days, I think maybe next year I'll start. I've been 5 years giving away these bags. Maybe next year's our year, Chris, that we actually kind of put forth we actually have a website called bugoutbags.com, and nobody knows about that because we haven't.
I have a little animated guy that's a bug out bug that actually adapts to the screen that we can add to the website and add to the educations and stuff that will literally come up and be our little pet that's a part of it.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, he has talked about bug out bags. He's the Ozark Bushman down in Springfield, Missouri. And he's got a lot of good advice as well.
Yeah, I've been trying to get him on here.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a good guest to have on here, Carl.
Yeah.
I know.
I'd be interested in watching a podcast over there.
I'd love to even be on and talk to him a little bit. I mean, that's what we specialize in sometimes.
The bugoutbagsguide.com?
Nope. It's bugoutbags.com, but we haven't really done anything with it yet. It's just kind of in limbo.
So what I did with bugoutbags.com is I have a Shopify store that's connected to bugoutbags.com, but I also have Ghost Site, which took off across the world. So unfortunately, the Ghost Site overtook the Bug Out Bag. I'm still attached to bugoutbag.com, but the actual URL to get to that site is ghostsite.com. We haven't really utilized the whole bug out yet, but I'm trying to implement because I have a night vision camera. We all think that's just for paranormal, but could you imagine at night if you're in a survival situation where you can't see at night? That simple little camera inside that bag would allow you to see at night, or a perpetrator, somebody coming in to get your family, or you're out in the woods and you're in survival mode. That camera will light up the night. It really will. You can actually see any kind of a attack coming from all directions.
You could set up a literal digital security perimeter and then add his laser light system on top of it.
People don't really realize that, though. There's a lot of survival stuff that I sell that they think is just for paranormal, but it's not. We really haven't reiterated that, hey, this isn't just for paranormal. You could use this for survival. There's a lot of that you can utilize within my 36-hour, 24-hour bags. But we haven't launched that yet. I haven't really explained why I give away these bags. They just think it's a cool carrying bag for all their paranormal equipment.
Well, that's just like up here. We're in the northern Midwest of the country in Missouri, right?
Yep.
So we get a lot of strong weather, tornadoes, everything like that. When I go with the police department up here, I've got a Sony night vision camera, and I've got a couple of different IR lights. You can go out in pitch black, where you can't see the sky, but turn that night vision camera on up there, and we can spot tornadoes.
Yeah.
We can see the skyline. A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, I would that.
Oh, and you can also use it to find out if Bigfoot's stalking you.
Exactly.
So,
I've actually got something in the works right now that is about to break wide open for that.
For the Bigfoot, community. We've got a couple of things for the UFO community that I'm working on over here while he's working on the Bigfoot community too, to kind of break into both of those. But we definitely want to break into the survivalist and hunting and fishing this year, and kind of move. It's not that we don't love the paranormal; we love the paranormal, but if you're going to promote a camera, you got to do it right.
we've got 3 minutes.
We got
left.
a few minutes here. Now, you guys are going to start doing a show for paranormal or for the survival, or what you talked about earlier.
Well, Total Bullshit's a little bit of everything. It's kind of a fun thing, so it's going to cover paranormal, politics, a little bit of everything, just because we're concentrating on the younger generation to educate and have a little bit of fun with it. So it's going to be a little bit of everything. What
network will you be on doing that?
Total Bullshit's going to be totally on the internet. It's going to be through YouTube. Pretty much every channel you can think of, we're going to broadcast through. All
streaming. There's a program. There's a program that pushes out all streaming platforms all at once to every platform. You just got to go to one site, do your podcast, and it pushes it to all URLs. It's just RTMP set for just goes to all platforms at once. That way you ain't got to focus on one or the other.
That's just like we're live on 8 platforms right now.
Yep.
Using StreamYard.
Yeah, you're just RTMP and everything forward to all your platforms.
Yeah, the only difference between what you're going to be doing and what we're doing is we're going to be multiplying that format a little bit. So we're going to be going from 8 to like 20 or 30 and hitting virtually every format we can do. And some of it's going to be pre-recorded while we're live. There's going to be a lot of different things going on, from Joel's little mad scientist room where he can pretty much do whatever he wants, including blowing shit up or having fun, to making fun of the paranormal in some incidents, also educating people in the paranormal, covering politics. It's going to be a lot of different things so we can target the younger audience as well as the older audience. And again, like I said, getting people like you, where you've always bit your tongue, being able to show you in a humorous way, hey, look, somebody can say it and you can laugh about it. Because that's what I've always been about anyway, in my own little way, being blunt and saying it in a way where you can laugh at what you're reading when I do it and go, I've always wanted to say that. And he had the balls to do it. So we're going to kind of pull that off and be the in living color of the paranormal, so to speak.
Oh, you mean Married with Children?
There you go.
That was one of our favorites. But so you guys know, you can find me here starting on June 20th. At 7 p.m. Central, the Paranormal Pride will be moving over here. So hopefully you guys will come and check it out. And of course, I'll be here every Tuesday night with Carl.
Right.
Awesome.
And check out the Bill of Rights Network where we're live on. Check out Things Network where we're live on. And also check out Temple of Phoenix Rising Entertainment where we're live on right now for this show.
And
But-
make sure you go to ghostsite.com and buy some really nifty cameras. Keep an eye out, too,
Right.
because in the next year, we've got one heck of a camera for you to live stream anything you ever wanted with the same quality as that Sony he was talking about to come on market.
Right.
You guys right here with us now. Could you Facebook message or give me an invite, and I'd like to get connected with all of you.
Yeah, I sure can.
Awesome.
And when you guys get ready to launch your show, come back on, let us know when, and we'll get you on the show so you can announce where you're going to be at and all this and that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Sounds great.
Absolutely. And I need everybody to keep an eye on Travel Channels and Discovery Plus. I will be on 5 episodes of something about to come out. I wish I could give you the name, but I can't. But I have been told I can tell you, keep an eye on it because it's coming out in the first part of 2023. So I'm not a big guy on it. I'm only on it like 5 or 10 minutes per 5 episodes, but you'll like it. You'll enjoy it.
Right.
Awesome.
So, thank everybody in the chat room for joining us tonight. We had great comments coming through, people asking questions and everything. So we will be back here again. Stay tuned here in 30 minutes for the Conservative View with Tina, Barbara, and Sally on the Bill of Rights Network. And we will see you next week. Everybody have a good evening.
Nice meeting y'all.